of She's Crafty's mini paper pad class. I can't believe it's week 5 already. That's so crazy. I've been having so much fun with this series, this class, using up all my mini paper pads. I really used the heck out of my Snow and Cocoa, and I've kept out my Wild Child paper pads and the little kind of all the embellishments and everything that I put together for it, the kit, I guess you could say, that I kind of picked out, because I have some plans. I want to get more of that used up, and I think it's going to go really well with my February and March How to Kill a Kit with Style kits. So I am moving on to my next 2 pages, and I'm using my Amy Tangerine paper pads that I pulled out. So for this one, I'm going to be using the Heart and Hustle paper pad, and really the inspiration for that was actually the photos. When you see the pictures that I'm using, in the background is a painted wall that we're standing behind, and it's got these like really bold colors of red and yellow, and I'm not sure if it's in the picture, but there's also blue and green and all of that on the full wall. So I thought that the Heart and Hustle collection really, it kind of went well because it has those same really bold colors. So the full 12 by 12 paper that I'm using is this one here that you can see. It's a slight ombre. It starts off more white and then really quickly moves to yellow. So most of the page is yellow, and the yellow matches pretty well with the yellows here you can see. So I thought that that would work kind of neat. Yellow is not a color that I tend to use a lot, and definitely not a color that I would ever normally pick as my background. So I'm kind of proud of myself for pulling that out and just doing something a little bit different from my norm. And here you can kind of see the wall behind us is red and yellow, but it's not that true red, which is kind of nice. The plaid shirt that my husband is wearing is more of a true red, and the wall is a little bit more kind of orangey red, which is exactly the red that's in this collection. So it worked out well. It kind of matched up really nicely. And then in the sketch that you saw at the beginning of the video, there's a little bit of mixed media in there, so I thought I would go ahead and do that. And I really kind of took my time. I sped it up quite a bit so you guys didn't have to sit through how long it actually took me to do it. But I really took my time to kind of build up those layers because I knew that putting blue on top of the yellow could make it read a lot more as green. And so I kind of splotched and smushed a little bit and then let it dry, not completely, because I'm a little bit impatient, but enough that when I went back in and kind of put more on top, the blue was shining through a little bit more. So in this video, you might still see it as a little bit green, but in real life, it's a nice blue, which kind of matches the scarf that I am wearing. And I used 3 different blues that were in the palette to kind of really get a nice mix, because you can see as I'm flipping through here, there is some really dark greens in there. There's some teal. There are kind of like a darker blue and a light blue. So I thought by mixing those 3 colors each time I was doing my smushing, you kind of get all these really pretty shades and variants in the blue in the mixed media. And of course, typical to most mixed media layouts, I end up covering a lot of it up, but you go ahead and kind of do it because, at least for me, I wasn't quite sure exactly where everything was going to sit, and you can see I'm kind of playing around with that now. And then when I come back and actually put the layout together, things aren't the way that I kind of thought they were going to be. So you go for it. You do this beautiful background, and you know that a lot of it's going to be covered up, or you're not going to see all of it, but I think it looks a lot more natural and a lot more organic if you do it first and really take your time to kind of make it look nice. And then that way, the little bits that do kind of peek out look like they're really meant to be there and that you didn't throw them in kind of haphazardly. So, while it was drying, so I should, I should actually explain this as I go, but I always go off on these little tangents. So I've got the blue on there, and then I did a little splattering of red and a little splattering of pink, and then some white. And it's not a super opaque white, it's the white that's actually in the watercolor palette, so it's slightly translucent. I think it's got a bit of kind of gouachiness to it, so it does sit a little bit nicely, but I just let some of my drops dry and then went back and touched them up a little bit. So again, building those layers, and then the white is a little bit more opaque. And then I set that aside to dry. And while it was drying, I went ahead and added some layers behind my pictures. And I think for me, that's always the funnest part of using a 6x6 paper pad, and especially when you're using smaller photos. So the sketch kind of calls for 4 photos, and you can make them any size you want. So what I had here was I have a square, which is about 4x4, and then I have 2 little 2x3 pictures. I did have a third little 2x3 picture, which is really similar to the larger photo, and I end up not using it. I did back it. It's matted on some paper, so if I want to throw it into my project life or something like that, it is ready to go. But it was just too much, because when I started going through the paper pad and seeing all the fun little things that I could cut out, I wanted to make sure that I had some room for those. So I matted the larger photo twice just so it stood out the most, and then the other 2 little 2x3s only got one single layer behind them. And they're all different colors, but kind of within that same color scheme. So the one of my husband making that weird face, which I promise you is not because of the food. It's actually just because he hates having his picture taken. So that one is more of a dark blue that it's matted behind. And then the picture of my breakfast has a bit of teal. And then the papers that I use to go behind our little selfie is the heart paper, and then some florals. So I really just wanted to kind of bring that circular feel to it, because as you can see, I knew that this collection had some donuts to it, and it's kind of a breakfasty theme, I think, to use the donuts. And obviously I haven't used them before, so I figured why not? So I went ahead and use that floral paper to kind of give me that circular feeling in some of the papers, and then I pulled the donuts out. So I think they're actually from a couple different collections. I don't think that they are all from the same collection, but I had 2 little donuts that were from an ephemera pack from Amy Tangerine, and then the black and white, or I guess they're not black and white, they're black and clear donuts. Those come from one collection, and then the other ones come from the Heart and Hustle. So I basically just kind of pulled all her donuts. I think she tends to do those a lot. So I thought they just kind of fit in nicely with this idea of our little breakfast date that my hubby and I were able to go on last year. And then I cut out a bunch of things from the 6x6 paper pads as well. It's really nice that they include those cut apart sheets now, because it gives you just that extra bit of life to your mini paper pads and your collection as a whole. So if you have 12 by 12 papers and stickers and ephemera and all those things that go along with the collection, and you have these mini paper pads too, you are getting a whole bunch of extra embellishments, because everything in those mini paper pads will be scaled down. So you're not going to have the same size of elements, which means that they might look the same, they might have the same wording. Sometimes they're the exact same pages, but not all the time. Sometimes you might have a couple bonus pages in the 6x6 paper pad that you didn't get in the full 12 by 12s and that kind of thing. But everything is scaled down in the 6x6 paper pad, so it gives you just these extra cute little touches and embellishments that kind of add to the collection and enhance it. So I cut out a whole bunch of things. As you can see here, I'm going through it again. And it's just one of my favorite things to do is cutting out those little elements and then tucking them in all over the page. And I just have so much fun kind of nestling everything together. And so it's nice that they're a little bit smaller because you can fit more stuff in there. So I've got a couple of little, words and phrases and things like that. I have a little kind of card that says today, and it has paper clips on it, which was a bit of a homage to the original sketch, which has a paper clip at the top of the very top picture. I also cut out a tag to put in where there's sort of a tag in the original sketch, and I didn't want to put any washi tape in, but it looks like there is a strip of washi tape. So I cut out two little strips of paper. One is meant to be cut out like that. It's the heart, so light blue hearts on a dark blue paper. And then the other one, as I was flipping through, I kind of noticed that those coffee cups are lined up fairly straight. So I was able to cut a straight edge and put those on the tag. So that's kind of in place of the washi tape. And obviously the coffee cups work with the donuts and the whole breakfast theme. And I finished everything off with a few sequins from Spiegel Mom Scraps. And that's it. That's my layout for today for this class. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please check out everybody else who has been in class today as well. And until next week, happy scrapping. Bye.